Hi y'all, I'm Megan Lippe. So my project's a little bit different for a couple of different reasons, but before I get into that, I just want to take a moment and share with y'all a little anecdote from this summer that highlights the need for these types of programs. So we had a student this summer in the course that I teach who failed her first test, and there's 3 courses we teach. She failed her first test. Her immediate response was, I guess I need to drop out of the nursing program. I can't be a nurse. This is the end of the world. Blowing up all of our emails. A little overreacting, right? Like, had you read the syllabus, you would see that no, you have not failed out of life, right? And when we brought this student in, we literally called an intervention. You're going to meet with all 3 course instructors because when you have a patient coding in the hospital, you cannot say, I give up, I can't do this, right? Like, there's a problem solving here. And when we talked to her, we said, in the past, when you've been disappointed, how have you dealt with this, right? Trying to elicit her problem solving skills. I've never been disappointed before in my life. You have never in your life faced a moment where things didn't go like, no. Okay, so we need to teach your generation some problem solving skills. So I'm very thankful we have this because, oh my, like that was, like you've never been dumped, you never, no, oh goodness. So, the other interesting piece, the ELO I did was in human pathophysiology in our upper division nursing program. It's a 5-semester program, and the first semester is 3 didactic courses. These courses tend to have the highest failure rate or the highest rate of, I actually don't want to be a nurse. I absolutely hate this. I'm getting out now. But one of the issues that we have seen is that students take these courses and they silo this information in their brain. So what I'm learning in assessment has nothing to do with the disease processes I'm learning about in this class, has nothing to do with that communication skills you're teaching me in the other. And so the intention of this ELO was multifocal, but one was to help them to link all of this information together. And I mentioned also that this is a little unique. I definitely have some different challenges in the fact that a lot of the courses you've heard about so far are small, right? We're talking like 7 to 30. I have 112 students in this course, right? So how do you design engaged, active, problem-solving strategies when you have 120 students in a C? And so we've really had to build a lot of strategies. This has grown into a Project Rising Tide grant that we're doing, so I'm really not going to go into everything we're doing because if I did, I'd be here for 6 hours. But I want to focus on one piece, which was what brought me to the Learning in Action program, and that's these high fidelity simulations. So what we do is we provide students with a safe, controlled environment. We have a simulation lab with our robotic mannequins, and we are helping students to see the real world here. Again, they were taking these courses and kind of siloing it in their head, moving on to the next semester where they're in the hospital and they can't remember what they've learned. So we're trying to help them see that this heart failure disease I'm teaching you, this is what it looks like in a person, and we're going to simulate a person who's suffering from this, and you've got to take care of them. So we wanted to also build in some evidence-based pedagogy when we were doing our simulations. So these are the 3 classes that worked together. So it was a busy summer. So not only did I design this in the spring, I rolled it out this summer, and we're going to do it again this fall. And we learned a lot, I will tell you. So the connections between the ELO and student learning outcomes. So the primary outcome is we want them to be able to apply the content they're learning to real world situations before they go in the hospital. So as we design these scenarios, we were looking at the content well, I say we because this was not a single effort. Actually, Ashley, who's there, is one of the people who's, she's going to carry the torch with this as well in this next cohort. But we looked at, okay, what's the content I'm teaching in Patho? Okay, I'm teaching about heart issues now. So in assessment, let's make sure we're teaching about content about the heart in assessment. And let's make sure in concepts courses, we're talking about how you care with patients with different issues with their social determinants of health, right? So trying to link in a meaningful way the content across courses, and then take all of that information and what are those things that they're most commonly going to see when they go to the hospital. So they're very commonly going to see patients who have heart failure and lung disease together. We are in Alabama, okay? We know smoking and all of these bad diets and all these risk factors. So here's a patient who now has these issues and has a 2nd grade education and is uninsured and lives in rural Alabama and hasn't seen a doctor in 10 years. Go. right? And so really trying to intentionally build in these issues and scaffolding, increasing the complexity as we go. So again, we want them to walk into next semester a little more confident that, okay, I've worked with patients before, I've been in healthcare settings before, but I at least know what I'm doing. At least know I put my stethoscope in the right place, right? Building that confidence. We've really emphasized throughout this some psychosocial components, patient education components, so trying to make them see the whole picture, not just the disease as well. So how will this assist the students? Again, we tested this summer. It drove me nuts that students memorize for the test and dump, right? We see that consistently. Your patient in the hospital really needs you to remember this, right? You can't be like, oh, I did really well on that test and now I forgot. No, like, you've got to know that what you're hearing in the heart is a problem and why. So trying to help them move beyond memorizing to understanding this and retaining it. We also want to kind of give them some varied situations. One of the unique things here is we've also seen with the simulation lab, we tend to throw students in and they drown and then they leave feeling defeated. So when we started our scenarios, the faculty were literally at the bedside with the student. Okay, here's your patient today. How are you gonna start? Oh, well, I would listen to her. Okay, show me. Friends, how did that student do? You know, and so some peer feedback, some reflection, but really trying to like handhold them through this. Like, do you realize you didn't introduce yourself to your patient? Hi, I'm Megan, I'm gonna be the instructor today. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves, right? So really role modeling for them some of this behavior. By the end of the summer, we were in the control room watching. So we weren't hand-holding them as much. It was, you can do this. So building some of that autonomy. Also, again, trying to link across the courses. So, okay, you heard this. Why did you hear this in the heart? Well, because of this. And I will say one of the most exciting pieces of this is my robots, they are limited, right? They are not real people. So there were times when students would say, I'm really expecting to hear this disease, this venous hum, because I know this person has liver failure, and I don't hear it. I'm like, well, my mannequin can't do that. But yes, I'm glad that you picked up on the fact that this should be there. Never would we have expected that before. So they made us realize the limitations of SIM sometimes. All right, so again, this is just to kind of show how we really integrated across courses, that there was very intentional linking of content so that it flows, it builds, and that we're working as a joint effort. Even all the way at the end, having a patient with cancer, pancreatic cancer, who's actively dying, and how do you take care of somebody facing this with family dynamics, and how do you bring in spiritual concerns? So really rich scenarios for these students. We did have a rubric. This is something that we're going to change a bit moving forward. They all got hundreds, except for the one student who came with, like, you know, the flap open back. I'm like, that's not professional dress. Like, I don't need to see your bra. We had him come with a case study completed about the patient, and so now we're going to grade those just to make sure some more accountability, some more making sure they're actually preparing for this. And we're also this fall going to build in reflection. So after they leave the simulation, they're going to go into our computer lab and complete a reflection assignment to help us see what are they really getting out of this. Some challenges, like I said, we've done this already. One of the biggest issues we're having to face for the fall is this summer, there was no space competition. We were the only people in the building. This fall, we've got 5 cohorts of students. We've got faculty teaching across courses, and so our administration came to us last week and said, you can't do 4, you have to do 2. And you've got to figure out different manpower because you can't ask your faculty to do this. So we're working through, I'm really glad Ashley's sitting there and is a Learning in Action Fellow because she's going to help me. But that's our big thing, is when you've got 112 students and you're wanting to do these, it can't be one faculty. There's just no way. So being creative with manpower. Wanting to bring in more live actors to really, rather than a faculty member being I was definitely the arguing daughter. Well, that kind of, I have fun with it, but the students know me now, so they didn't always necessarily believe that, you know, Mama's dying, right? Like, I'd get into it, but they were like, oh, Dr. Lippy's being crazy. So trying to bring in some unique personalities for that. And then also just the team dynamics. Sometimes we had teams, they stayed as a team the whole semester. And so trying to really help when we see a student struggling, how do we support them and maybe give them more of a presence in these simulations as opposed to the type A, I got a 97 on the test, I need to review it and understand how I can improve type student, right? So trying to help with those team dynamics. It was a lot of fun. I will say that, but it was a lot of work. Thank you.